Reverse rack attack.
We want that swag that Ant-Man brings to the table.
I'm here.
We are live from Oklahoma City, and it's now or never for Ant and the Wolves. The good news, 13 teams have come back from down 3-1. The bad news is that 283 have not. Now, Anthony Edwards, he can jump with the best of them, but his ups and downs in the conference finals, they've been frustrating for Wolves fans. He's had a pair of 30-point games. He's also had a pair of games going just 5 of 13 on his shots. But Rudy Gobert, he defended Ant's shot diet this morning, speaking to reporters.
For a lot of people that just think basketball is about going 30 every night. It's not true. It's hard to understand, but for someone, for people that actually understand that it's about winning, it's about making the right play, and if you bring two guys and make the right play, you've done your job.
For more, we bring in our Dave McMenamin, who is covering the Minnesota Timberwolves for us this postseason. So, Dave, Udana said at the top of the show, it's not just Anthony Edwards, it's also Julius Randle that needs to have a big game if they want to extend this series. He's been a little bit inconsistent this postseason. What have you seen from him that maybe reflects a larger story here for the Timberwolves?
Yeah, Malika, I spoke to Julius in between games 2 and 3. Obviously, game 2, he was benched in the fourth quarter in favor of Naz Reid. The Timberwolves were able to cut it from 24 down to 10, and he didn't pout. He was cheering from the bench. Chris Finch spoke to him about it afterwards, and Julius said he understood it. This is really the first time of his 11-year career where he is figuring what it's like to be on a contender night in and night out. It's an experience that he relishes, but he's learning with it. He told me that the theme of his career has kind of been bouncing back from adversity and learning on the job. Now, certainly he had a great game 3 and a tough game 4, and he finds himself once again in a position where he needs to bounce back from some adversity in order to keep this season alive for the Wolves.
What he knows, this is what he has done his entire career, and he knows what it takes in order to execute that tonight. Dave, thank you so much for that insight. And as Dave details in his story that's up right now on ESPN.com, Julius Randle has been a huge barometer for the Wolves' success this postseason. He plays well, they put themselves in a position to win. When he struggles, they really drop off here, UD. Why do you think that he is the guy that actually needs to step up if they want to send this to a Game 6?
Well, I mean, definitely Batman needs his Robin. You need another guy. You can't do it with just Ant-Man, but one thing I would say about Julius Randle is he likes to operate in that mid-post area around the free throw line. That's death against the OKC Thunder. That is the same place where Joker like to operate. So they've seen that. They are too long. They are too athletic. He's not operating in space. Every time he gets the ball, he's seeing clutter and bundles. So I would say move him down to the baseline where you can have everything in front of him. If he attacks the middle, he can make the right play. But putting him in the middle of that right there, I think that doesn't work for him. And also early and often.
Yeah.
Get the ball to him early in transition. We saw some plays early on where he got the ball in transition. He was able to get downhill and get to the basket with not that much clutter in the paint. So he's got to figure out ways to get to the paint with not much clutter, and also working from that baseline instead of being in that mid-post area where they saw Joker, and he's not as good as Joker is in that spot right there.
But at the end of the day, we know in elimination games, all eyes are on the star player. And I think 13 field goals, 2.5 will never be good enough when it's Anthony Edwards in these circumstances. Everyone wants him to literally shoot a shot. I want you guys to take a look at these numbers here about stars in elimination games, because when you see them, focus on the right side of the screen. On the left, it's the points, but on the right are the field goal attempts. 24, 25 for Luka. Wilt, obviously 22. KD, 21. AI, 26. When the game is on the line, these guys shoot their shot, and I think we're going to see a more aggressive Anthony Edwards like we saw in Game 3. Now, it will also take a little bit of schemes, because in Game 3, we also saw Rudy Gobert be an excellent screener. They ran floppy plays. They moved him off the ball. They created his shot for him, so all he had to do was knock it down. I like that. Or you can even go isolation a little bit more. Force everyone to the offside. Let him get into a simple pick and roll where he can turn the corner, get downhill, and attack and feel more comfortable. We all realize that a lot of his misses were based off of rhythm, but now he's going to shoot his shot early on to be aggressive to set the tone.
Like Game 3, right? Like he came out in Game 3 and he had 16 points in the first quarter. He had 16 points in the last game. And that just is the juxtaposition of these two Anthony Edwards. But okay, so he makes the adjustment. He's going to shoot more. Then the Timberwolves, or excuse me, the Thunder, they're going to adjust to Anthony Edwards shooting more. And then Ant's going to have. What is the counter adjustment to the adjustment?
It's like UD said. It really comes on to Julius Randle because he shares the playmaking. In the last series against the Warriors, when we saw the Timberwolves really at full power, it was Randle feeding Ant. There was one game where Randle assisted Ant 6 times. Wow. In this series, he's only averaging 3.5 or so assists a game. So they need to have Ant off the ball a little bit so that Julius can be the playmaker, because when Ant's on the ball, it makes it easier for the Thunder to set their attack on him.
Yeah, and once again, like I said, Julius has to go early and often, and he has to get in the paint without that clutter. So that's a coaching thing. They have to figure that out. There may be some adjustments being made. But with the Alex Caruso, can we give him some credit where credit's due? Because it's not all on Julius. This is not all on Julius. I mean, he's walling up against those guys. We seen that series against Golden State where Julius was going through people, putting other guys in the front row. Caruso is hanging in there, bodying up, not giving him any angles, and those guys are swarming from the wings, and it's very tough for Julius to get shots. So some of this is OKC as well. It's not all just Julius playing bad.
There's still basketball to be played here, but Brian, there are larger implications for the Timberwolves. Can you just lay out what's at stake?
Yeah, they've got 3 of their sort of core 8 players whose contracts are basically going to be up if they lose one more game in this series. Julius Randle is an opt-out of his contract. It's one of the reasons why I think the Knicks were looking to move him. They were worried that he was going to be really expensive in free agency. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has had a breakout season. It's a great time for him.
Awesome.
And Naz Reid can also opt out of his contract, which I expect him to. Now, I don't think the Wolves are going to be able to keep all 3. They might argue that there's a whiteboard that they can show you how they're going to do it. They have prepared for this. When they traded Karl Towns, they offloaded some future money. They reworked Rudy Gobert's contract. They brought down his average and gave him more money so that they can re-sign probably 2 of these 3.
Right.
I would likely think it would be Randle and Reed would be the guys they focus on. And then they drafted a couple guys, and Terrence Shannon Jr. and Rob Dillingham, whose rookie year was derailed by injury. But they're hoping for them to have a bigger role. But what I'm saying is this might be the last time we see these Wolves together in this particular form.
But by no means are we hoping that this is the end. You're looking at 4 people who want more basketball, but that is some of the context here for the Timberwolves whenever their offseason begins. All right, coming up here on NBA Today, we got a lot to get to. Tyrese Halliburton did something that has literally never been done before. Even he was shocked after hearing all the records he broke. Do not miss his reaction. And has SGA cemented himself as the next face of the league? Udonis Haslem tells us what he has done to separate himself during this incredible playoff run for the MVP. Plus,